What if I told you that some of the most unbelievable events in world history were predicted thousands of years ago? And not by fortune tellers or psychics, but by prophets in the Bible. These weren't vague predictions like you hear in horoscopes. These were specific, detailed, and bold. Some seemed almost impossible at the time they were written, yet somehow they came true, exactly as described. In this video, we're diving into 6 Bible prophecies that already came true. Let's look at the first prophecy. Prophecy 1, the destruction of Jerusalem. From the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 6. Jesus was standing with his disciples, looking at the temple in Jerusalem. It was a grand, beautiful building made of massive stones, the pride of the Jewish people. But Jesus said something shocking. He told them, "The days will come when not one stone will be left on another. All will be thrown down." At the time, this sounded impossible. The temple was the center of religious life. It was protected, sacred, and strongly built. No one could imagine it being destroyed. But around 40 years after Jesus said those words, it happened, exactly as he said. In the year 70 AD, the Roman Empire sent an army led by General Titus to crush a Jewish rebellion in Jerusalem. After a brutal siege, the Romans broke into the city. They destroyed the temple, set it on fire, and tore down its walls. History says that not one stone was left on top of another, just like Jesus said. What's more interesting is that this event is not only recorded in the Bible, but also by non-Christian historians. A Jewish historian named Josephus, who lived during that time, wrote detailed accounts of the temple's destruction. He wasn't a follower of Jesus, yet his writings confirm the prophecy's fulfillment. This prophecy showed that Jesus wasn't guessing. He knew what was coming, even if no one else believed it. Prophecy 2, the nation of Israel would return. From the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verses 21 to 22. The second prophecy comes from the prophet Ezekiel, who lived during a time when Israel had already been conquered, and many of its people were living in exile. In chapter 37, God shows Ezekiel a strange and powerful vision, a valley full of dry bones. In the vision, God tells Ezekiel to speak to the bones. As he speaks, the bones come together, grow flesh, and become living people again. Then God says something amazing. "These bones are the people of Israel. I will bring them back to their own land. I will make them one nation again." At the time, this must have seemed like a nice dream, but unlikely. After all, the people of Israel had already been scattered. Over the centuries, they were conquered by different empires: the Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. Later, they were scattered even more after the Romans crushed a rebellion and forced many Jews to leave their homeland. For nearly 2,000 years, there was no country called Israel. The Jewish people were spread all over the world, living in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. They faced persecution, discrimination, and wars. Yet somehow they held on to their identity, culture, and faith. Then something incredible happened. In 1948, after World War II and the horrors of the Holocaust, the world saw the need to give the Jewish people a homeland. On May 14, 1948, the modern state of Israel was officially declared and recognized by the United Nations. This moment shocked the world. A nation that had been scattered for nearly 2 millennia was now reborn, and it happened in the exact land that Ezekiel's vision described. People who read the Bible saw this not as a coincidence, but as the direct fulfillment of prophecy. What Ezekiel saw in that vision, a nation coming back from the dead, had come to life in our modern time. Prophecy 3, the gospel will be preached to the whole world. From the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 14. In this third prophecy, Jesus was speaking about what would happen before the end times. He said, "This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." At first glance, this may sound like just a goal or a mission, but at the time Jesus said it, it was a radical idea. Remember, Jesus and his followers were a small group of people living in ancient Israel. They didn't have planes, internet, or social media. They didn't even have printing presses. The Roman Empire ruled much of the known world, but even they couldn't spread messages as fast as we can today. And yet Jesus boldly said that his message would reach the entire world. Fast forward 2,000 years and take a look around. Christianity is now one of the largest religions on earth, with followers on every continent. There are churches in the deepest villages, in massive cities and mountains, islands, and deserts. The Bible has been translated into over 3,500 languages and is still being translated into more. Thanks to the internet, radio, television, podcasts, social media, and smartphones, the gospel is reaching places where missionaries could never go before. Even in countries where Christianity is restricted, people are hearing the message online or through underground communities. What seemed impossible in ancient times, to reach the entire world, is now happening in real time. Every day, someone hears about Jesus in a new way, in a new language, in a new corner of the planet. This prophecy is not just fulfilled, it's still unfolding. Prophecy 4, the fall of Babylon, from the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verses 19 to 22. Babylon was one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Its massive walls, hanging gardens, and wealth made it famous across nations. People thought it could never fall. Yet the prophet Isaiah, writing around 700 BC, declared something shocking. He said that Babylon would be destroyed, not just defeated, but completely wiped out, never to be inhabited again. He wrote, "Babylon, the jewel of kingdoms, will be overthrown by God like Sodom and Gomorrah. She will never be inhabited again." At the time, Babylon wasn't even an enemy yet. It was still rising in power. And even after Babylon conquered Jerusalem about 100 years later, people thought it was unstoppable. But Isaiah's words came true. After ruling for a short time, Babylon fell to the Medo-Persian Empire around 539 BC. The city was captured without much resistance, and though it remained active for a while, it eventually declined. Over the centuries, it was abandoned. Today, Babylon lies in ruins in modern-day Iraq. Archaeologists have uncovered its remains, but it's still uninhabited. Just like Isaiah said, even attempts to rebuild it, including by Saddam Hussein in the 1980s, have failed. The land remains mostly empty and desolate. Isaiah's prophecy didn't just predict a fall, it described permanent desolation. And that's exactly what happened. Prophecy 5, the rise of Persia and King Cyrus, from Isaiah 45:1 and Daniel 5:28. This next prophecy is one of the most specific in the Bible. Isaiah not only predicted Babylon's fall, he even named the man who would conquer it, Cyrus. This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus: "I will open doors before you so that gates will not be shut." This prophecy was written about 150 years before Cyrus was even born, and yet history shows that Cyrus the Great did exactly what Isaiah described. According to ancient records, including those by the Greek historian Herodotus, Cyrus entered Babylon through a clever military strategy. His army diverted the Euphrates River, which ran through the city. When the water level dropped, his soldiers marched under the gates along the riverbed and took the city with almost no fight. The Bible confirms this in Daniel chapter 5, when the Babylonian king sees mysterious writing on the wall. The prophet Daniel interprets the writing and tells him, "Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians." That very night, the king was killed, and Cyrus's forces took over. This fulfilled prophecy is especially powerful because it names Cyrus before his birth. It describes how the city would be taken. It connects directly with both biblical and secular history. No vague language, no general statements, just accurate, detailed prophecy, fulfilled to the letter. Prophecy 6, knowledge will rapidly increase, from the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4. This final prophecy brings us to our modern world. In the last chapter of Daniel, the angel tells him to seal the book until the time of the end. Then he gives a sign of what the end times will look like. Many will run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. What does this mean? For centuries, people traveled by horse, cart, or ship. Most people stayed in the same place their whole lives. Education was limited. Books were rare. Only the rich or religious leaders could read. But suddenly, within the last 150 years, everything changed. The invention of the printing press, then electricity, then cars, planes, and trains, the rise of schools, universities, and the internet, the creation of smartphones, satellites, AI, and space travel. Today, we live in an era where people literally run to and fro across the world daily. You can wake up in one country and sleep in another. You can access more knowledge in one day on your phone than most people could in their entire lives a few centuries ago. Some call it the information age. The Bible called it the time of the end. Daniel's words were written over 2,500 years ago. No one at that time could have imagined modern technology, yet somehow Daniel described it perfectly. Fast travel, exploding knowledge, and an age unlike any other. These prophecies aren't random guesses. They are specific, historical, and verified. They show that the Bible doesn't just talk about faith, it tells the truth about history. But here's the big question. If these prophecies have already come true, what about the ones that haven't yet? The Bible also speaks of coming world events, a final kingdom, a global leader, a mark on the hand or forehead, a time of tribulation, and a returning king. If the past prophecies were fulfilled perfectly, maybe the future ones will be too. So what should you do with all this? First, don't just be amazed, be inspired. These fulfilled prophecies show us that God keeps his word. History bends to his plan. Nations rise and fall, but his promises never fail. Second, consider what this means for your own life. If the Bible is real, if the prophecies are true, then maybe the parts about forgiveness, salvation, and eternity are true too. Finally, stay alert, because prophecy isn't finished. We're living in a time when more may be fulfilled soon. Stay in the Word, watch the world, and keep your heart ready. Which of the 6 prophecies amazed you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. The future has already been written, and it's unfolding before our eyes.